Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the Last News channel. Before we start off the video, I do want to apologize for the lack of video these past 3 days, but we're back on track this week with daily update videos. First off, we're taking a look at the National Hurricane Center 5-day outlook right now, and we have tropical storm Claudette, which has reformed surprisingly over land. You don't see that very often with tropical cyclones, and what's really interesting about Claudette is that it formed over Louisiana and reformed over North Carolina. So this storm formed over land, died over land, and reformed over land. So we'll take a look at this and what impacts we'll be getting, and then we'll take a look at another tropical wave in the main development region as we continue with this very active June, as well as the possibility for a major hurricane by the beginning of July. First of all, let's look at Claudette here, 45 miles per hour, I believe. And right now, 40 miles per hour, this is their current track. So obviously, it's currently bringing tropical storm conditions to the North Carolina coast. And then that will be moving offshore and becoming post-tropical by 2 p.m. on Tuesday. So this storm will be dying out soon. As you can see, this is where we're currently getting some tropical storm force wind. This the coast of North Carolina, and then earlier we obviously got those in this area. So not much to talk about Claudette as it is on the end of its life. We do have this tropical storm warning in North Carolina. Moving on, we have this disturbance minimum region. We have a 20% chance for this to form. They're saying a well-defined tropical wave is located about 900 miles. I'm just checking if we have the update. No, 900 miles, and it's possible that some development of the system occurs during this couple of days before obviously it moves into unfavorable conditions. So there is a possibility that we could see a slight tropical storm or tropical depression. The next thing we got going on, again, this is very active, is we do have this area of low pressure here, which is going to be crossing over, but it has a slight chance to maybe form. And then we also have a chance for a storm to come up in the Gulf, kind of like Claudette. So here's that 20% chance. Obviously, it looks pretty good for a tropical depression, or a area of disturbance. Here's Claudette. Doesn't look very tropical, maybe a little subtropical, but it is a tropical cyclone. Let's get going and look at those forecast models. First off, looking at the entire North Atlantic. So right off the bat, let's just look at where each things that we're looking at are today. This is Claudette right here, and then this is that Disturbance National Hurricane Center has marked. As you can see, in the next couple of days, that disturbance does start dissipating out. Claudette already moved in over over Canada and Nova Scotia. We do get some other strong tropical waves, especially this one here that does try to develop into something. But what I was talking about right now is this area that could form into a low pressure center in the Caribbean right here. This is about 144 hours, and then we also have the possibility for an Eastern Pacific crossover once again. And so as we move on, the GFS has this storm right here developing in the Gulf of Mexico, and we get a 959 landfall in Texas. Now, this is a little weaker than previous trend, previous than the 944 millibar landfall. But the bad thing about this is we could be looking at a Category 3 hurricane making landfall in Texas in about 270 hours or so. So that's in about, that's in about 270 hours. That's in about, a week and a half. So we'll still be in June. And that would be, a catastrophic June. I mean, we've already had two storms in June. We could have that third one right here, and maybe a fourth one in the main development region with this one right here, which has the chance to also develop into something. Now, what could also happen with the system here is right now we have obviously that area that I'm talking about. But that moisture is going to be what's going to help develop in the Eastern Pacific some tropical cyclone here. And if you see that happen, the National Hurricane Center does have a 40% for that. What could happen is a little bit like Claudette, where that moisture comes in the Yucatan and we get that forming in the Gulf of Mexico. Some models are hinting towards that forming in the Gulf of Mexico. Some models are hinting forming in the Caribbean. Either way, moisture from the Eastern Pacific and the Central American gyre is going to be causing some moisture in this general area. Whether we see something pop up, low pressure, we can see that in the Eastern Pacific. We can also see that likely we have some right here and in this area. You can see multiple areas where we got some rotation going on. On this GFS run, that gets sucked in, dissipates with that Eastern Pacific storm. And then again, that moisture brings in another storm because even though we have the center rotation right here, we're going to have a broader general area of rotation in that Central American gyre. And just this entire area is going to be filled with thunderstorm activity. Obviously, conditions are being right, and we do see that becoming a tropical cyclone. As we continue on, obviously that moves inland, and we will have another opportunity for something in the Central Pacific, in the Eastern Pacific. Now, looking at the other models, we also have the CMC, which yesterday was showing a similar thing. Today, it looks like it's trying to show a crossover, like I've been talking about, the possibility for that. So on the CMC, we still have that system forming here, as you can see, and then it kind of stays here, really gets pretty strong. And what could happen with this is it does kind of try to cross over here. You can see that center rotation trying to cross over in the Gulf of Mexico. It does end up dissipating over land, but it kind of gives you an idea of the possibility with that situation. The European model still doesn't have much with the system right now. It's struggling to show anything. The main reason, actually, my bad, it is, oh no, that's Claudette. The main reason for that is really because they have that Eastern Pacific storm a lot farther off the coast, as you can see right here. Instead of staying extremely close to the coast right here and kind of dissipating, it has our storm already a lot farther off, a lot farther away. And so it doesn't help produce any really area of tropical development. Even though we do get, some vorticity, it really doesn't bring up any tropical cyclone. Now, with that in mind, I do want to get back with the GFS model and look at that vorticity because, again, this could be a major threat, and we're looking at 11 days out, And when the system does form, when we see that system form, like really form, we're looking at the system forming about 198 hours away. That's, if the GFS right, that's a week out. So this isn't that far out. This is a week out. So National Hurricane Center is probably gonna, give a chance of formation fairly soon. And if we look at this again, what really forms this is again that Eastern Pacific storm, right? This is right now. We have that vorticity. Oh no, wait, my bad. This is right now. Again, we have that vorticity already embedded inside the Western Caribbean. And as we move on, that vorticity continues to stay here. You can see we still have vorticity here in the Western Caribbean. And that, again, coming from Central America, you've got that moisture coming from Central America. And then you got moisture coming from the Eastern Pacific, which helps create that rotation in the upper level. As we move on with this, we see that starting at Pole North with that upper level high, as well as that low pressure center, and it really starts to get pulled northward with this storm here. As it gets pulled northward, we get the right conditions for, again, this to form, develop clearly. Still have that high pressure right here pushing everything northward. And then we still have that upper level low up here, which is, again, still pushing everything northward. As we move on, the high pressure is, again, you can see how strong it is. So it is going to be moving towards Texas, obviously, Texas, Louisiana area. And then you see that landfall on the Mexico-Texas border as a major hurricane. Now, I do want to show you guys the last model run, which actually showed a little different thing. It showed it skimming the coast and making a Florida Panhandle landfall. And I just want to show all the possibilities with this. It showed a weaker 993 landfall. Now, the reason for that is because we had a different setup with the high pressure with this storm, where we had a weaker high pressure a little farther, bringing that storm north, and wasn't coming in as much into Florida. The previous model run, again, had a Florida landfall, again, weaker, and then went off the coast. Again, why? Because that high pressure was even farther to the east and the west, which allowed the storm to go, into Florida. So the trend is a high pressure being farther west, farther towards Florida. The run before this, again, had a Texas landfall. Again, it was a little stronger, a little weak, a little stronger with the storm, but it did have a Texas landfall. And the reason for that is really because it formed farther east and it formed in that Yucatan Peninsula area. So it assures that we're likely to see something pop up either in the Gulf of Mexico, in the Eastern Caribbean, and the Western Caribbean. And we do have the chance for this to form into a strong tropical cyclone, potentially a major hurricane.